maintain one's composure. Oh, and another one. Please carry on. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Yes, yes. May you have a flat tire and never recover. Absolutely unbelievable. The level of behavior that I'm witnessing. I think that there is a cheetah starting up ahead. We're going to ease our way up there. We're not going to go ballistic with the flow. We'll probably miss a hunt as a result, but that's okay. I'd rather miss the hunt than drive like that. Anything else coming from behind? You've got to check your blind spot in these places. There is one coming. Is he going to attack? No, you're right.
Hello everybody. I'm just trying to see if I can get my phone to actually work. Oh, I'm listening to Chris. No, it's not working. I was trying to have a look on my Google Maps, but I have no cell phone reception and the Wi-Fi is not working in the car. To have a look as to if there are any other sneaky roads that I haven't driven around you, but that's fine. We'll just have to find them then by sight. So we're going to go check cul-de-sac first, and then we'll just check the crossings as we go along. My goodness, gremlins go away. But the gremlins are always here to stay, I'm afraid. That's just the beauty of coming live to you from the middle of absolutely nowhere, which is pretty cool. And we are live, in case you have any doubt and you've just stumbled across us. So if you do have any questions for myself, James, or Jamie, who will be back with us in a little bit, or even Tristan in South Africa, you can hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can chat to us via the YouTube chat too. What you seen down there, Ferg? Are you still covering it? I must tell you, something funny happened. So we're driving, we got to this really muddy section. Now, I feel like we maybe need to get some mud flaps for the cars, because I'm looking at Ferg, and it's like he's got chicken pox, but in the form of mud, because all the mud is just spraying up, and literally there's mud everywhere, on the camera, everywhere, and he waved a finger at me as well earlier. Sorry. But remember that day that David and I were driving around on the other side after all the rain, and we were mudding quite a bit, and you came to us and we were just completely covered from head to toe as well. This car doesn't seem to have a hole in the floor, or I've covered it with the mat, because that was quite funny, looking at my pants going, well, how did I get dirty? I just put these clothes on. Anyways, right, James is back up and running, and he said he may have a cheetah sighting for you, and that's exactly what he's got.
Well, we do have a cheetah. Figured out what was happening. These cheetah obviously killed early this morning while we were...
Sure.
We don't... signal issue. I think this is the two sisters, if I'm not horribly mistaken. There's something else moving through the bushes there. We've definitely got at least two cheetah here, and I think they killed, like I said earlier this morning, and they've just had their kill stolen by hyenas, I think right now, just as we were being overtaken by drivers who are more suited to the Indianapolis 500 than they. This is a waste of time. Let's go backwards. Let's see if we can't pick up a bit more signal. Yeah. I don't know. Let's try that. Comms test. Are we still live? Ah, right, thank you. Here we are, still live. I think this should be slightly better from a picture perspective. There's the one cheetah, the other one in the bushes just to the left-hand side of that.
Let's go check that.
Maybe not. I think let's link away so that we can try and find some signal. Oh dear, nasty limp. That's a male. I wonder if we're not looking at the musketeers. Alright, let's get out of here, everybody. We'll go and try and find some signal. You go and see what Tristan is doing.
James, I'm driving into, well, what is quite a bright sunrise now. The sun is far up in the sky, and so it's fairly glare-filled morning so far. So not really much going on though. I haven't seen any animals, so to speak of. Even birds have been a bit quiet. There's been the odd hornbill or one or two starlings, but nothing else really happening. It feels as though everything is taking a sabbatical after this rain. Maybe everyone's gone on vacation a little bit. But what we're going to do is we're going to head up towards Bateleur Dam and just see if there's anything happening on that side of the world. And then from there, well, I'm not quite sure where we're going to head, but it would be nice if we got some sort of action going on and some sort of life somewhere along the way. There's lots of life, I suppose, in the form of green grass that is growing all over the place. So a lot of you are asking for me to go to Gari Dam. I will go to Gari Dam. I'll head there towards the end of the shore. Once I've done at Bateleur Dam, then I'll head towards that general vicinity and we can have a look at just how much water is in there. I was there yesterday afternoon, and it's not as much as I was hoping for, but it's a start. It's at least gone from fairly dry to a sort of sizable amount of water, I would say. I mean, it's enough for elephants to drink out of it and various other animals as well. So there's at least some sort of filling going on, and hopefully there will be a bit more rain coming. I believe Lou said to me that there is rain forecast tomorrow, I think it is. So hopefully we'll end up with a situation where there's going to be a lot more rain falling in the next few days, which will hopefully then fill up all of these dams nicely. The thing is like I say, it's going to make our game viewing a little tougher from a standpoint that everything is not congregating around certain water holes. Just when it's dry, it's easy because everything goes towards water holes and stays there. Now I wonder if this Bateleur eagle is going to stay still for us and just turn. I don't know, it seems to be drifting off a little bit, but sorry Vildi, I know it's not great where it's going. It's flying away from us. I thought it was going to bank towards us, but it's now going away behind those branches. But there was a young Bateleur eagle, and it spends a lot of time in this area. We're up on Drakensberg at the moment, and there's a nest not too far from here. And so this juvenile or immature Bateleur eagle has been here for quite some time, and I think there might be another one actually on further up ahead. Is that a Bateleur eagle, or is it some sort of other eagle? I don't know. Let's get a little bit closer and see what it is. I think it must be two Bateleurs here, and then further on looks like something else as well. So here are the two adults. Now I'm hoping that they're not going to move too much and we'll be able to get them. I just want to try and get on the right side of the sun, otherwise poor VM's going to be blinded trying to film into it. But here we go. Here the two adults are. So these are the guys that are responsible for the nest that I was talking about earlier, and that young one that flew off will be from these two. They're probably one of their previous offspring that they've had. That is just sitting now and taking to the skies and flying off and starting to forge on its own accord. But this will be the pair of Bateleurs, so it's quite common to see the two of them sitting together, particularly on cooler mornings. You will find them sitting in places like this, just waiting for their wings to dry out, for thermals to start rising, so that they can then go off and find food. Remember that the Bateleurs are predominantly scavengers. I mean, they can find their own food at times, but generally they scavenge, and so they're not too reliant on having to fly very, very high, and so as soon as there's a little bit of sun, generally we find them starting to get up and go and try and find food for the day. But they are the most magnificent eagles. They've got that bright red face, the jet black coloration, and they have, you know, this white and black as well. It really is a very pretty bird at the end of the day. So now, in terms of sexing these two, they're one of the few eagles that we can actually sex, and we can tell who is who. So it is, by the looks of it, the female on the right hand side. So that's the female there. You can see the white in the wing structure. The females generally have that big white bar on the wing, and well, not generally, they do have that big white bar on the wing, and then the males, they don't. They have a jet black wing, because they have a very, very, very thick black broad line when they're in flight. And so there is the male inside there. You can see he doesn't have nearly as much white on his wing as what the female on the right hand side does. So it's one of the few eagles that you can sexually dimorphosize, or have a difference between male and female, which is quite nice as well. And you can also see how short their tail is. Their wings extend way beyond where the tail would have been, and they're able to kind of then, it's one of the IDing features, should I say. They're not able to do anything, but for us it's one of the IDing features to be able to find out who they are from a long distance. Even when you see them silhouetted, if you see those wings crossing over and no tail sticking out with that sort of rounded head, it's quite easy then to see. But beautiful, beautiful birds. There's another bird of prey a little bit further on as well. Chitty Chatty Meg, you're asking what is our state bird in Djuma. I'm not sure what that really means. We don't have a state bird. We have a national bird in the form of a blue crane. But in terms of state birds, we don't really have state birds. Well, I don't know of a state bird. Now, we've got a bit of a better angle on the female now. The male flew off. So we don't really have a state bird for Djuma itself. I think it's just a situation where everybody just has their own kind of favorite birds, but there's no actual bird that is sort of prescribed.
Oh, great.
Isn't that beautiful?
I wrote that was wallpaper for you.
Look at that.
We could
good as it gets
probably
in terms of a view of a Bateleur. So certainly a very pretty bird to look at, and one of the more colourful eagles of the world, that's for sure. And you can see that white bar that I was talking about very clearly now on the right hand side where the sun is highlighting, and then you can see the brown sort of saddle that they've got on the back, and those red feet, red sear area, and then the yellow tip to the beak. It really is an exceptionally good looking bird. This one is being very obliging. It's at least sitting nicely for us. We're no more than, I would say, probably about 20 meters from the tree. It's obviously quite high up, but it's being very obliging and letting us get an incredible view of it. And you can see those big, big feathers, and also some serious talons as well. Gillian, you say it's a gorgeous bird. It is. It's one of our, like I say, prettier birds that we get out here, and particularly in terms of the eagles. Most eagles don't have too much coloration. They generally are quite sort of brown and drab, or, you know, blacks and those kind of colors. But these guys in particular have these beautiful red legs and red beak, and it really stands out against that jet black coloration. So they are probably one of the prettiest eagles in the world, and they also have those big bulky heads, and when the wind blows it just fluffs the whole head up and makes it. So Mario, you're saying that this bird makes a weird sound. Now Mario, not really. I mean, they're not the most weird in terms of some of the birds that we get out here, and they pretty much have a squawk like many of the other eagles that we have out here. Now I'm going to try and find their call for everybody so you can hear what it sounds like. So you can hear it's just like a whistle sound or squawk like most eagles make. So that is the sound of a Bateleur eagle. It's not really
different from a lot of the other eagle species. They all make these kind of shrill calls like that, and whistles, and like I say, squawks as well. So not too much of an interesting call compared to some of the others, but still nice. Right, from a beautifully coloured eagle in Djuma, let's go back to James Hendry, who's not a beautifully coloured eagle, but is in the scenic Mara.
Right, we're losing comms again, so I'm going to stop here. Let's just look at these Thompson's gazelles. I will tell you that that was the 5-brother musketeer coalition. Well, they're not all brothers, of course, but the 5 musketeers are the cheetah that we saw there. We managed to get in amongst the bushes there, and there were 5 of them. I'm afraid there was just no signal there, so we can't show them to you. I think they killed earlier today. I don't know how much of this you copied when I was last on air, but I think they killed recently, I think probably about an hour before we got here, and they've just had their kill filched yet again by hyenas. Anyway, we're going to continue along and see if we can't find some better signal and some other cheetah as we go. We might be lucky. And certainly Malika and her 2 youngsters were around here. Denise, you want to know about the injury to that cheetah and whether or not he may or may not recover from it. Denise, it really does depend on what the injury is, and I'm afraid I've got no idea what injury he's sporting. It might be something as little as a slight twist in the ankle that happened during the kill. It might be something as bad as a torn ligament in his knee or in his shoulder. And if that is the case, well, then he's going to be in trouble. He's lucky because he lives in a coalition of other males who will tolerate him sharing their food. But eventually he will probably fall off the back of the coalition if he's seriously injured. And then, then he will be in some trouble. It's now starting to heat up quite nicely today. And you can see the landscape around here totally different from what it has been. Now, Miss KMP, you're looking, of course, at the cheetah's favourite food over there, or one of their most favourite foods, and that is the Thompson's gazelle, of course, and you're wanting to know how fast they can run. Well, very fast is the answer. In terms of miles per hour, I would say that they can probably run at about, let's say 45 to 50 miles an hour. So not quite as quick as a cheetah, which can supposedly hit about 60, but they are pretty fast. Yeah, they are not slow at all, and of course their advantage over the cheetah is their ability to change direction. Now, many people will tell you that a cheetah's tail is like a rudder. And it is not like a rudder. It's not strictly a rudder, of course, is used for steering. It is used to change the air current around the tail of an aeroplane, or the water current around the tiller of a boat. But a cheetah's tail is not used like that. A cheetah's tail is actually used as a counterbalance. And when they move at such terrific speeds, to change direction is obviously very difficult. And so the flinging of the tail from side to side allows them to sort of move their engine into the position that they need it most, and of course to stop them falling over when they have to change direction very quickly. So it's not used as a rudder. It's used much more as a counterbalance. And then the next time you think about that, I mean, I know we're not looking at a cheetah right now, but we have just looked at a cheetah. The next time you are driving in a car at 60 miles an hour or 100 miles an hour, wind the window down, put your hand out. And you will be, I'm sure, amazed at the amount of air flowing over your hand. And you can see how the forces at play at that speed are far greater than anything that you and I experience even when we are running at top speed. It really is the amount of air friction and sort of change that is brought about by that kind of speed when you're running through the air is quite something. Emily, you want to know why the gazelles flick their tails so fast and so frequently? Emily, it's because, of course, they're happy to see you. It's like a dog, they wag their tails when they're happy to see you. No, I'm talking rubbish. They do it for flies and parasites. So there are flies all the time, and there is a school of thought that may or may not be true that says, if we look at, can you find the hind end of a gazelle there, please? Sabi, there we go. If you look at the hind end of that gazelle, you can see on either side of the tail the two dark stripes. Now, it is said that those two dark stripes produce a bit more heat, like the dark stripe down its side, and that extra heat attracts the parasites around to the back end of the gazelle, and that then helps them to flick off the flies and the ticks. I'm not sure I believe that, on account of the fact, of course, that they have a great big black stripe down their sides, which would seemingly do the same thing. I think you'll find, though, that that is the soft, most vulnerable bit. You don't want ticks crawling in and around there, and so I think that's why they've got the tail flicking away constantly. The rest of the body, of course, is covered in fur, so they don't have to worry about it there. It's a quiet day. I can hear some Cape turtle doves or ring-necked doves calling. Tate's Spades, you're wondering about infection in these gazelle, and if they get an infection from all the parasites and ticks biting them. No, I think you'll find that they can deal with all of that, no problem. They have obviously evolved in an area with the ticks and parasites that exist in this area. So while in the absence of them, I've no doubt that their bodies would be slightly happier, they can certainly cope with any ticks and parasites that this environment has to toss at them. And interestingly, you'll find that we are the same. We are covered. You'd be shocked at the number of parasites you are covered in, that live inside you, that wander about on your skin, in your hair, in all the bits that you scrub very clean when you get in the shower. You'd be amazed at the number of parasites and parasitoids that live on and in you. And we all are able to deal with those parasites and parasitoids. Without them, obviously, we'd feel better, but we've evolved to deal with them. And it's the same thing in an area like this. As soon as you take an animal like this out of this area and put it into a strange area, then it's going to get sick. Same as when human beings, or when Europeans landed in Africa, they made Africans very sick, and in turn the diseases of Africa made them very sick. Alright, on that rather somber note, let's head back across to Jamie Patterson, who is now able to talk again.
I can talk again. What a surreal experience that was. For those of you that missed it, we just did an hour's silent safari, which was, I think, the ultimate test for poor Craig, because, you know, he was just sort of showing the audience different things, and we were listening to the sounds of the bush, and it was great fun as an experiment. But it was very surreal for me, especially because at one point I parked, obviously, where there'd been some kind of population explosion of very, very small termite alates, and they were buzzing around us the entire time, and they were crawling down my scarf. One of them went up my nose. That actually happened twice. And typically when the cameraman is zoomed in, we know to stay still, because otherwise you get the rocking of the vehicle and the picture starts to shake, which for me usually isn't a problem, because my movements, because I'm small, tend to be smaller, so they don't tend to rock the vehicle quite so much. But I was trying so desperately to get these things out from under my scarf. One of them managed to get up the leg of my trousers without moving too much, just trying to swat them away. There were a few times, because I know that those of you who've been watching regularly, I know that some of you were watching, and I was trying so hard not to laugh with all of you. Anyway, it was an interesting experience. Very, very interesting experience. I quite like it. Listening to the sounds, don't have to hear the sound of my own voice in my head. It was highly, highly enjoyable. Let's check to see nobody's coming up behind me. Apparently, I'm getting chirps from Final Control saying the voices are always in my head. I know. This morning it is the lovely voice of Faith, who has joined our Mara team and is doing a marvelous job directing her very first sunrise safari. Your voices are okay. I don't mind your voices in my head. It's my voice that's the problem. There's some more flows. Hello, flows. I wanted to stay longer at the Angamas, but they were very far away. And of course, when we sit with you and we've got other vehicles around us, we can explain it. We can tell you that, you know, the sounds that you're hearing are the other people talking, and I can't exactly tell a guide not to explain stuff to his guests. So we left pretty quickly because there were people chattering away right next to us. So I don't know whether they ever got their meal or not. We've got some buffalo. This one's got a collection of oxpeckers gathering around, picking away the ticks and the earwax. The cleaning service of the bush. Look at those horns. That's quite impressive. Look, they curve all the way around. Yes, show those horns off. Here we go. Little yellow-billed oxpeckers sitting on the back. We see them far more frequently here in the Mara than we do in South Africa. Lovely. Morning! The other thing that would have been highly, highly entertaining was that I nearly got stuck at one point. We were on the road, and we just kind of sank into the road. Which is, I don't think we would have been stuck for long. It just was very, very slippery. Speaking of which, I hear that James is the newest member of the Marshmallow Club. Well, I haven't completed it yet, but I've started making a little pin. A little badge with a picture of a marshmallow on it. And basically, I think this has probably been explained, but I'll explain it again for new viewers. Whoever winds up getting stuck gets the title of Marshmallow King or Queen. And I've decided we can't really have a marshmallow hat or anything quite so dramatic, so I thought a little badge would be the way to go that we can wear subtly on our clothing. And since James isn't here, he's across the river, I'll wear it for now, because I'm the previous holder of the Queen of the Marshmallow Club. Gina, you want to know about the buffalo's curled horns and how he could fend off predators, since they have curled away and the sharp tips are no longer there. To be honest, the sharp tips are really basically the cherry on top, and what makes the buffalo formidable is just the sheer impact of those horns. So it doesn't matter whether or not it can hook, although he could still swing his head sideways and hook a predator, and it does happen. Lions occasionally do fall foul of the buffalo's horns when they're trying to hunt them. But essentially, if you can imagine, that is 900 kilograms of angry buffalo charging forward at a speed of around about 15 meters per second at his top speed, and you can get an idea of just the immense power. Now, those horns are solid bone. The base of the horns, which is known as the boss, is also solid bone, and it's inches thick. So it really is essentially like a battering ram. And even though his horns are curled away so that the tips don't point outwards, he would still be able to defend himself, and actually would still be able to fight with another buffalo over females, which is of course what they also use their horns for. So he's not defenseless by any means. He's actually a massive buffalo, and a lion or a predator would have a seriously tough job in tackling him. he would be able to defend himself. It would be a battle. So the curl of the horns, not too drastic. Jody, yes, it does. While we sit and we enjoy this morning and we watch the buffalo, it absolutely smells different in the Mara than it does in South Africa. Now, I know that South Africa at the moment must be smelling absolutely stunning because it is the beginning of the rainy season. The flowers are going to start emerging. You'll start to get the wild jasmine and the gardenias and all sorts of flowering plants. The knobthorns will be flowering, which of course we don't see knobthorns out here in the Mara, and it's a very different and very distinctive smell. The Mara, to me, and James I find is always the best at describing smells. He's got a very acute way of explaining it, but I find that the Mara smells muddy. I don't know quite how else to describe it. It still has that very African soil smell, and it's still got the smell of the vegetation, but it smells very damp in a nice way, not in a damp and moldy kind of way, but it smells damp essentially. I quite like that smell, especially after the amount of rain that we've had. And then you of course you get different types of flowers flowering. It is, both places smell absolutely appealing. It would be hard to pick a favorite. All right, I think it's time to send you across to Miss McCurdy, who apparently is staring at the open road.
We were. Not anymore, though. We are driving around along the Mara River, and we're trying to find, well, the Paradise Pride, also looking for Scar and the rest of the gang, but no sign of life at all. We saw one small group of zebra. There's plenty crocodiles, plenty hippopotamus around, the odd topi here and there, and then that's it. I cannot believe how quiet it is. So it just goes to show, even the Mara can have some quiet days. But we'll just continue driving along, and just make sure I don't go off into the side of the road here, otherwise I'm going to get stuck. We're going to just follow it for a little bit. We're almost at the end of it now, where we don't have any more lookout points. And then we're going to head up back that way past the Serena airstrip, and then start making our way back towards the north, where home is. We're getting new rain covers on the roofs. How exciting is that? We obviously saw a glimpse of it with Jamie. She's got the first little window in, so all the cars are being done at the moment. We need to be back in camp relatively soon after game drive so that they can start working on them, and that's going to be really good for us, because essentially that will allow us to film even in the rainiest of rainy days, which will make all of us happy. Really will. Right, let's go down this one. Whee! Woo! Hang on! Wah! Slipping inside it. I've got a big buffalo I want to show you. Actually, come and have a look here. There's lots of buffalo. Whee! Just pockets of them. Why are you guys so spread out? Here's the big boys, though. Hello, fellas. Oh. And I think that there's a breakfast stopper, because you may see some people in some bright red chukkas behind the buffalo on the other side of the river. I just spotted them. There they are sitting. Can you see them, Faye? So there's obviously a little bit of, there's a rest stop on the other side of the river, and that's where those fellas are, just waiting about. Buffalo? Now, Ryan, you're wondering if you could tell at what age are the buffalo, I think you said by the size of their horns. Most certainly, but is that like, that's an injured one. Oh, no, buffalo, that's no good. You better get out of sight very quickly, because if a lion sees you, you're going to find yourself in a bit of trouble, my friend. So you most certainly can, but also it depends on their genetics, because sometimes some buffalo horns grow longer and quicker than others. But typically, After about a year or so, the horns are sort of standing up straight, and then by their second year, they're starting to curve around and starting to develop a bit of shape. But it does take them quite a few years before they have a fully developed set of horns, and you can see this sort of big bust and a big helmet on the top of their heads, and you'll only really see that with the mature bulls. And it's always got the most interesting pattern on it. And then you can also look at the tips of the horns. So typically a really old buffalo will have blunt tips, but you can see that these aren't particularly blunt. It's not the greatest angle. Buffalo, turn your head please so we can see. But they did look great. Oh, it's listening. So I would say that this buffalo, both of these buffalo, they didn't look too old. They just don't look very well, though. They haven't quite developed a lot of muscle around their shoulders and their hindquarters just yet. So I think they've still got a bit of growing to do. They're not very big at all. And I've said to you, it's the biggest buffalo I've seen are the ones here in the Mara Reserve and in the Triangle. But he's equipped with lots of oxpeckers too. So I don't think these are old. I think these are probably in their teenage sort of years, nearing adulthood. Even though their horns are nice and big, they've still got a lot of mass to put on their bodies, and that will come with time though. But we have put some enormous bulls on screen, and then as they start to get older, they start to deteriorate as well. They'll start losing weight and losing condition, and they look alright for now. I just don't think they're particularly old. Cosby said that it reminds you of a grandma, but more athletic. Because of the grey horns that look like hair. You know what buffaloes remind me of? Are the old colonial judges when they used to wear those big wigs. Isn't that right? Still do. They still do. Ferg must know a few. No, I'm joking. But so that's what they remind me of. And I can do a similar thing with my hair too when I go swimming. If I pop my head in the water and then I do a mermaid hair flick back, and then I create the most bizarre shape of my hair. And that's what I used to do growing up all the time. Then I'd speak in a very colonial accent, and we'd play all sorts of games in the pool. So that's what the buffalo remind me of. Please chew with your mouth closed. It's very rude. Well, actually, maybe this is a very old fella. Look at his ears are quite tatty, hey? They are very tatty. Maybe he's not a young... Maybe he's on his way out, but his horns are still pretty good. In terms of how sharp they are at the tips, but now that I'm looking at his ears and looking at some closer signs of him, I think he's actually an older boy. I gave you too much credit, didn't I? So maybe he's on his way out. Maybe he's not really able to consume as much as he needs. You're a very busy oxpecker, aren't you? Jumping about. Those red bills. Yeah, they are too. That's pretty cool. Red-billed oxpeckers. We mainly see the yellow-billed oxpeckers hopping about. I thought that call sounded slightly different, and you can see that bright yellow orbital ring that they have around their eye. That's how I remember it. If you're a bit confused and you're not 100% certain, the yellow-billed oxpeckers don't have that around their eyes. But there was a whole group of them, and off they go. They were going to hang around the river's edge and lay in the mud and keep nice and cool because it is getting exceptionally warm. And that other buffalo... Hopefully his mate sticks around with him. Well, they did look like they were waiting for one another, because he is going to get himself a bit of trouble. This is a known area for plenty lions, and they're going to see that. Those big predators like lions, even a massive clan of hyenas, they can spot weaknesses like this, and that's what they're looking for. They want to take down prey that's going to be, well, the easiest to take down. But, I mean, we've all had encounters where we've seen buffalo with broken legs, not just a limp, getting up and running like there was nothing wrong with them. So they're resilient creatures, and I suppose when it's life or death, you can overcome your injuries for a small amount of time to try and escape. Adrenaline is an amazing thing. Okay, but let's carry on. I'm trying to think. Let's go to the water's edge very quickly. Let's go and have a look. Something has stung me on my finger. What stung me? What insects are being nasty to Taylor today? Like all the insects just despise me for ever being attacked. Okay, let's see how full the river is. As we were popping along, I can't see Brent's measuring rock that he was telling you about the other day. That's completely submerged now. Is there a spot? Everything's been washed clean. I'm just looking here. Poke my nose like this. Not really see too much, but you can the water levels have definitely increased, and you can actually hear Hear it raging. Have a little listen. Lots of birds making noise. The water's all churned up. It's brown and murky. Crocodiles haven't got many banks to lay on anymore. They're having to really come and move further out of the water to sun themselves. Do we have any crocodiles? We haven't got anything. We've got something bobbing in the water, but that's maybe a log of sorts. Or elephant dung. No, it's a log. A logodile. Just floating along. And I don't see any crocodiles at all. Okay, well, very quiet on this end. Where are they? Where are all the animals? Okay, right, that's the end of the river stretch for us. No, try gate. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna just having a look at the tracks on the ground. Lots of hippos moving about here. We're going to head up towards Serena now to the airstrip, see if there's anything happening that side. Tristan is on his way to the hyena den. I wonder which den those beautiful creatures have moved to. And hopefully Tristan will have some luck and watch them play about.
It would be nice to have some luck. It's been a tough morning. We've had a whole big herd of elephants at Bateleur Dam, but unfortunately, because Gary repeater is not working properly, we couldn't get any signal, so we've had to move on from there. So hopefully our Aubrey's den will be active. I know the first thing this morning it wasn't, so it's a long shot that it's still going to have hyenas at it, but well, it's worth the shot nonetheless. We're in the area and we might as well just come and have a little look and see before we head down towards sort of Gari Dam area to go and show you guys what's happening at the dam. But I'm hoping that there'll be some hyenas here. I've checked this den I don't know how many times recently and had no luck, so I'm really hoping that we have a situation where there are some little spotty friends hanging about in this area. Let's have a look. Seems fairly quiet at this stage, but they generally are on the northern side of the den itself, so there we go. Is this the two of you, or is Mom here as well? Look how big you've gotten already. They are massive already. They've been so big. They're probably double the size of when I last saw them. Their legs have gotten long, and you can see rather curious as well. So as soon as we arrived, they were up and looking and checking what's going on, and now back to whatever game that they were having. And at this stage of their life, they're going to be teething, so everything is going to be bitten, from grass to trees to bones. Anything they can get their teeth on, they certainly will start to feed off. There you go, you can see that one. It's got something there. What is that, a stick or is that a bone that it's got? Can't see nicely. But already they've got incredibly powerful jaws. You can hear them actually crunching down. It looks like a bone. Is it a bone, Via? What do you think? Piece of wood. Yeah, it is a piece of wood. Either way, that piece of wood is being crunched down and chewed upon, and like I say, that's because of the teething process that they're going through. Now, I believe a lot of you are very excited to see the little ones and to see them here and out and about, and I'm quite surprised that they are here because it is quite late in the morning. It's starting to get a little warmer now. The sun is quite high up, but I suppose it's been a fairly chilly start to the day, so maybe that's why they're out a little bit later today, and why we're seeing them still bounding around. And don't you love when they're at this age? Their legs almost look too long for their bodies and they kind of bounce around. Oof. Has it all been too much this morning, little one? Janice, you were agreeing that they are very cute when they're this age and this young. Like I say, I like that they're kind of in that lanky phase where their legs are too long for their body almost, and they're kind of having to grow into them, and it's all a bit awkward, and they kind of trundle along all over the place, and there's a series of miscalculated falls that happen, and it's just they tend to be at their cutest when they're like this. Obviously when they're very, very small, they also are quite cute when they're little black balls of fluff, but it really is amazing how much they've grown since I've last saw them. I mean, it's probably about 3 weeks since I've seen them, and they really have doubled in size. They've got lots of little spots coming through now. You can see the one on the right is very spotty, and the one on the left just starting to show some signs. So really cool to see how much they've grown and how well they're doing. And evidently that one has just stolen it away from the other one. That's not very nice. So one stick has been stolen from the other one. That doesn't mean it's going to stop chewing though, but there we go. Are we sure it's a stick, Viam? It looks like it, doesn't it? It seems the other one has found another stick to play with anyway, so all is good. Or something at least to chew on. You'll find that they'll chew on all kinds of things, and if they finish up with whatever that is and start heading towards us, then I'm pretty sure our tires are in for a rough time of things, because they will often go after tires and chew on them, and they then bite through the valves and all kinds of other things. You have to discourage them from doing that. Nancy, you're asking, would they just crush the bones or do they eat them? Well, Nancy, they will eat them. So what they do is they crush them down and then they swallow them like that, and they will absorb all of the calcium from that, as well as the marrow that's inside. So there's a lot of nutrition inside a bone that they're after. So they will crush them down with these jaws and then swallow them. And often when you see hyenas, sometimes they'll regurgitate, and there will be shards of bigger bone that haven't digested. But otherwise, when they defecate, generally their dung is dry as a white color, and that's because of the amount of calcium from the bones that they've fed on. So it is something that they do eat, and they will crunch down on and feed on. It's not that they just crush them and leave it. They actually are absorbing nutrients from that bone structure itself. So they actively do feed on bones as much as they can, just to be able to get the nutrients that are in there. But I think it is a bone, given that they've got so much interest. A piece of wood they would chew and spit out, but it seems as though they're actually swallowing bits. So I don't know if maybe Gwen brought back some sort of food item at some point, and now they're just chewing on it. Whatever it is, if it is a bone, it's an incredibly old one. It's not a fresh carcass, because that was quite dark in coloration, which means that it's been dried out. So whatever it was must be very old. Izzy, you're wondering if there's a reason why the one cub is so much spottier than what the other one is. Is it a nutrition thing, or is it just random? Well, Izzy, it generally is random. It's just they develop their spots at different times, and there might be some sort of indication in terms of one being slightly more strong and more dominant, is getting access to food and is therefore growing more. That could be something to do with it, but generally when it comes to coat patterns and coats like this, it's more just to do with the fact that they kind of a random situation. So it's, same as things like leopards that'll develop different spots. It's the same thing with hyenas, that they'll start to show their spots at random, and some just show a little bit earlier than others. You can see this one is got the spots starting to show, and the process of change between that black and then the spots will be quite quick. You'll find a situation whereas in the next, probably I would say 3-4 weeks, that one will also be completely spotty all the way through. So it's going to change very, very fast, and it might just be a random thing that the one is a lot more spotty than the other. Now we're having a little game. I think the bone is causing a lot of trouble, or stick, whichever one it is causing a bit of chaos between the two of them. Although it wasn't too bad, it was fairly amicable. They've kind of bit at each other, and that was the end of that. But look at that little nose down in the ground. They're so cute when they're chewing on things, and big brown eyes, round sort of cylindrical brown eyes that they have. They always look very cute when they're up to no good, these guys. Gwen, of course, is completely sleepy. She's sitting in the shade and taking it very easy, and is very restful. I'm sure she had a long night, given how far these guys do move around. Right, now Jamie, who is no longer silent, I believe has got something that might fly away fairly soon, so let's jump across to her and see what it is.
Luckily for us, it hasn't flown away, and I can talk once again. And first of all, before I say anything else, I owe James a sincere apology. My impression was that he was stuck in the mud. He wasn't. His vehicle broke down. Sorry, James, for casting aspersions on your mud driving. There goes our long-crested eagle, flying off. Obviously decided that the harassment of the lilac-breasted rollers was just not worth that good perch on the top of the Balanites tree. So I'm very, very excited. I had to stop to just show you this eagle because they really are beautiful, but I'm very excited because we're on our way to the sausages, the Sausage Tree Pride, and a kill that they have. So we're going to be making our way there. I just wanted to stop and show you that eagle quickly. Oh, look at those hyenas there, just below. They're running away from their attempted thieving of the Sausage Tree Pride's kill. They're really thinking about it. They're still wanting to go back. And in fact, I think one is contemplating. I don't know how many there are. I think there's only 2, possibly more. They're obviously not quite brave enough to take on those females, and for good reason. I have seen the sausages tackle more than 10 hyenas before. It was actually, in fact, the only reason we found them. We'd lost them. Liam was out of the vehicle having his dinner on the hood of the car, and all of a sudden I looked up and there was just a screaming herd of wildebeest running at us. So I got Liam to jump back in as quickly as possible, curry flying everywhere, chaos, middle of the night, and it turned out that the sausages had killed a wildebeest, which is why they were racing off like that. But the end result was that they managed to stave off a clan of, I think it was probably even more than 10. Let's go say hello to these lovely ladies. I want to see how big my little girl has got. Hi guys. Oh, just one there. Enjoying some shade. The kill's obviously a little bit further away. Oh, we got 2. Let's go see which ones we've got. Busy morning, huh? Chasing hyenas away. Ah, there's my little girl. Here you are. You stand out so clearly. I will go a little bit closer to them in a moment, but there's the little girl. She's so easy to spot. Zebra kill. Fantastic for them. You can actually see they've been feeding. They've already got full bellies. Well done, girls. Well done. The family is fed. So this is the Sausage Tree Pride, or at least a portion of the Sausage Tree Pride. Oh, I'm dragging carcass around. These 2 are lying in the shade, so I just wanted to show you them before we reposition. And we can get a little bit closer to the kill. We've got one mum and one of the older cubs, by the looks of things. Obviously having eaten their fill. There we go. Oh, look at your belly. Look at your belly. Stuffed. Fat and happy. All right, I've heard some very exciting news from the other side of the river. Quick, off you go to James, who is making his way somewhere exciting.
Now, I don't know how much communications we're going to have here, but we've got 2 cheetah, and we think that they are on the hunt. They're a long way from here, but this is the herd that they're after. And so what we're going to try and do is get behind this herd of prey and get a shot of the cheetah coming towards them. There are cheetah behind a large gardenia there. I think it's the 2 sisters, which is very exciting. And so I'm just going to get behind this herd of gazelles, and let's see if we can't pick them up coming towards us. 1 second, 1 moment, please. It is a little difficult in here. Mercifully, 1 or 2 vehicles, but not 586 like there were at the last cheetah sighting. An hour. Okay, we're going to be in business very shortly. It would be very nice if my roof would stop flapping. Alright, now there are the gazelles. I can't see the cheetah right now, and I know this is not going to be the best cheetah view you've ever had in your life. But when they come out, this is the perfect place to be. Right, hello everybody on social media. Welcome to this action broadcast live from the Masai Mara. My name is James. Can you see the cheetah there, Seb? It's straight over the tallest bush on the left. Alright, now we're live on Facebook and social media. Welcome to this unscheduled or action broadcast live from the Masai Mara. We're in the middle of what could be a cheetah hunt. Now, I know you can't see any cheetah right now, but where they are is next to that. Yeah, they're behind those gazelles, next to some bushes. And we're just going to see what unfolds here. I can't see the cheetah at the moment. I've just seen them stalking towards us here. My name is James, in case you're wondering, and we'd love to hear any questions or comments that you might have in the comments section of the broadcast. Now, these gazelles have settled down to have a little bit of a cud chewing session. They are, of course, ruminants, and what we've done is position ourselves opposite the cheetah so that we can see the cheetah coming towards the gazelles. We're just going to have to be very patient here. Sebastian is on camera and he too is scouring the landscape, obviously, for the two cats. And I am scouring this little herd of gazelles to see if there's a baby, perhaps. There they come, on the right-hand side, just over the top of the right-hand side of this herd. Have you got them there? On the horizon, over the top of the right-hand side of this little herd. So the one on the right-hand side, far right-hand side, in that gap there, they're just there, on the termite mound left, coming down off the termite mound to the left, there you are. You got them there. Okay. I can see them there. One of them, you can just see the head, and you can see another one standing up. You've got them. Now, Janice, you're wondering what the biggest prey a cheetah could take is. Well, the biggest prey that these two cheetah could take, probably a young wildebeest, weighing, I would say any animal that weighs just under 100 kilograms or so. Now, you can just see them in there. I know this is not the best cheetah sighting you've ever had, but because we're in the middle of a hunt here, this is what we have to do. We have to remain very, very patient indeed. And now the sentinel of the cheetah, not the cheetah, of the gazelles is sat down. Now you can just see the cheetah poking its head out the top there. You got it there, Seb. Now let's see. They will have to get pretty close by in order to achieve a hunt here. And let's just see if they do come closer. So Janice, anything around 220 pounds and under. Shamsun, you're going to get yourself into trouble here. You're saying you're holding thumbs that we get to see a kill. Well, I'm certainly holding thumbs that I get to see a cheetah at full flight. Just sitting, looking over this little herd, thinking about their approach. The reason that they are not moving at the moment is that the gazelles, one or two of them, keep standing up and looking this way. At least that way, not this way. Now one or two moving away, not looking. And the cheetah should, in theory, now start to think about sneaking closer. Now there are quite a few people out here thinking that this is going to turn into a hunt. So I think we need to be patient. I know this is a fairly dreadful view of a cheetah as far as the cheetah views that we get are. But we might be lucky here. Now, Jeff, you ask the most valid question of all in this situation. You say, how close do they have to be in order to make an attempt? Well, despite the fact that they're able to run at some 60 miles per hour, 100 kilometers per hour, you will find that a cheetah probably has to be within 50 meters. So, what is that? 3.25. roughly 175 feet or so before they can actually make a dash. Because the gazelles are not slow. The gazelles are fast. They are wily. They can change direction on a ticky. I confess that cheetah does not look particularly overwhelmed with enthusiasm for this hunt. They did look, as we came live, we saw them stalking. Here we go. Don't lie down. Oh no. She's just laying down. He's showing absolutely no enthusiasm whatsoever now. I'm sorry about that, everyone. Nothing you can do. This is obviously... we're calling this an action broadcast. It's slightly amusing, of course, because there's not much action going on here now. It was going to be action. I think it's going to be worth sitting here, though, just to see what happens. Rita, you say that the eland look a little bit, look so relaxed. Yeah, well, I mean, they're not eland, of course, they are gazelles, and the gazelles are completely relaxed because they have no idea that there's a cheetah lying down behind them. And unfortunately, that cheetah does not look particularly enthralled with hunting at the moment. It could sit there all day waiting just for the right moment. It might get up in 2 minutes, it might get up in 5 minutes. So what I think that we will do eventually is go around to have a look at the cheetah lying on the termite mound and try and then make our way back into this kind of position if the cheetah gets up. Chastity, I don't know exactly the time that it would take a gazelle to get up off the ground, but they will go from lying on the ground to full speed in less than 2 or 3 seconds. No, definitely less than 2 seconds. The reaction speed that they're able to bring to bear in a situation like this is quite astonishing. Now, just in terms of the speed, it's often difficult to conceive of this. The fastest human being in the world we think of as Usain Bolt, which he's certainly not a slowpoke, and if he's running the 100 meters, his average speed, or if he's running the 100 meters in 36, at least in 10 seconds, his average speed is 36 kilometers per hour. That's about a third the speed of this cheetah. He will also take roughly, probably, I'm going to say about 5 seconds or so, 4 seconds to get to full speed. That gazelle at the back is limping. Ooh, let's see if the cheetah turns around now. Look, cheetah. Look. This is going to be worth waiting for.
Yeah.
That gazelle is limping. Shamsan, you're wondering if this is a bachelor group of gazelles or if the females also have horns. The female gazelles all have horns as well, Shamsan. There is no ways that gazelle at the back is going to be able to stay away from that cheetah. If that cheetah spots the limp, they'll come trotting straight down off that termite mound. Might just be a little bit of stiffness. You see, the gap between the bush and the herd is greater than it looks on your screen. It's actually a gap of about 150 meters. And that's why the cheetah are not kind of thinking too strongly about this situation. They could also have eaten yesterday and just have been walking along here and have come across this herd. But there are quite a few people that have been watching the cheetah for a while now. Righty. I'd love to tell you we're going to move, but we're not. I know that this view is not the greatest in the world, but if we're going to get a cheetah hunt, this is where we're going to be. Now, we have an interesting comment from Scotty, the cheetah man of Africa, who quite remarkably is honouring us with his presence in the final control room. Good morning, Scott. Salutations and, of course, deep respect to your cheetah knowledge. He says he thinks he has seen 3 cheetah here. Now, that is quite possible. It's quite possible that this is not the 2 cheetah sisters, because normally they are found much further north of where we are now. It's quite possible that this is Malika and her 2 sons. Malika, a very famous cheetah in this area, known for her poor manners. She is known for leaping onto the bonnets of cars, which is not something to be encouraged. So it could well be Malika and her 2 sons if the great cheetah man has spotted 3. What I'm going to do is just sneak slightly around this gazelle herd. Sorry, I should have given you a bit of warning there, Seb. And see if we can't get a better view up towards the termite mound that the cheetah are on. Yeah, they're a long way from these gazelle, you know, even with the binoculars. Let me just see if I can pick something up now. No, this is a worse view than before. I'm just going to keep going forward. Ooh, hang on 1 second. For those of you who are interested in a totally different change of tack, there's a Temminck's courser on the ground there. It's quite an unusual bird. Can you see it there? We're going to look at a Temminck's courser quickly during a cheetah hunt.
This one, right?
That's the one. Gorgeous. Gorgeous Temminck's courser. Alrighty, let me sneak forward again. See if the cheetah man is correct. He could well be. Please excuse the banging sound. That banging sound is me trying to slap flies off my person. I can still just see the one on the termite mound there. Riti, you say, will hunting in a group give them a better chance? Absolutely, it'll give them a better chance, Riti. But what you must understand is that the coordination of a hunt like this is not what it is with lions. There isn't an ambush set. It is kind of a charge in, see which is the weakest, grab it, and then we'll kind of help each other out. Certainly with the males, those male musketeers, their success rate and the size of the prey that they're able to take is exponentially increased by the fact that they're in a coalition. If this is Malika and her 2 youngsters, the 2 youngsters will not be nearly as useful as the coalition partners in those musketeers. If it's the 2 sisters, they will have a similar kind of approach. Yeah, can you see the cheetah, Seb?
Yeah, it's not
just its head.
I think I've just got a head, yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure how Scott's young peepers managed to see 3 cheetah there, but I'm going to take his word for it because this is the right position for her and her 2 youngsters. Yeah, I think that this is going to take some time. Alright, we're going to go apparently across to Jamie. She's got some lions.
We are with lions indeed, and just a quick taste of what's happening on the other side of the Mara River, right up towards the northern part of the triangle and the Olololo escarpment, where we've got a lioness that is torn between wanting to be in the shade and not leaving her zebra kill to the waiting hyenas. So there's a hyena lurking off to the left, picking up the scraps, and you'll see that she is collared. in order to keep track of this particular individual and to learn more about her. But it means that our lioness has got to show us the most impressive display of strength. If she leaves that carcass for a minute, that hyena will be in there in 2 seconds and grab chunks of her hard-earned meal. She doesn't want that. She's got cubs to feed. And so, as you can see, as it heats up here in the Masai Mara, she is desperately trying to drag the zebra carcass to the shade. Come on, girl. You've got 20 yards to go. 20 yards to the rest of your pride, and then you'll be safe. And you'll be able to sleep in the shade and, at the same time, enjoy the protection of your meal. There she goes, pulling it. That zebra must weigh around about what she does. Maybe just a little bit less. You can see it's been fed on already, so they have had some of it, but they definitely don't want to lose the rest of it. That is a meal that's going to keep them fed for at least another day or so. Come on, girl. So close. So close. You can see she's exhausted. She's panting. All the digestion of that meat is producing a huge amount of heat inside of her. There's the rest of the pride underneath the tree, watching her, leaving her to do all the hard work on her own. So close, girl. Just a little more. Just a little further. And then you'll be able to keep an eye on it while you snooze. There she goes again. Such determination. Pulling the zebra along. I know it looks a little gory, but look at the strength of those muscles. There she goes. She's going to make it. She's going to make it. She did it. She did it. She's put it right next to the shade of the one tree that's out here. And now her family can feed close to the shade without having to worry. Thanks, Mum. Yes, you do. You should say thank you. Are you going to help now? Are you going to try and help your mum? Come on. Or are you just going to say thank you? Come on. No. No. Not quite as big and strong as Mum yet. There you go. Well done, girl. Sitting, panting, exhausted after the hard work of having to catch the zebra, feed on the zebra. And she's managed to keep it safe, and the scavengers are lurking in the distance. Well done, lions. Right, our lions have already succeeded with their meal, but back across to the river to James, where he's with his cheetah trying to get theirs.
That is fantastic stuff to be seeing out here. Lions dragging zebra. Now cheetah are looking up, but not doing a great deal in the way of enthusiastic movement at 100 kilometers per hour towards their potential quarry, one of whom is so fast asleep right now it's difficult to believe they're alive. Far right hand side. Okay, I think what we're going to do, everybody, is let you get on with your day or go to sleep, depending on where you are in the world. I'm going to stay here for the next hour or so and see what happens with these cheetah. If they get back up again, we will come live to social media once more. So you go off and do whatever it is you were doing before you saw us, and keep watching any notifications on whatever device you happen to be watching on.
Flat, flat, flat.
Yeah. Alrighty, let's go across to Jamie and her lions. I'm going to go and get a better view of those cheetah from the other side and see what they do from there.
So our lioness is not content with having moved the zebra carcass all the way across to the shade, and now she's come through to bury the stomach parts of the zebra, that natural instinct that we see with most of the cats out here, to come and cover up the mess, the smelly parts of the carcass. So that's what she's doing here. Even though it's pretty futile, the vultures already know that the carcass is here, and so does the hyena, that one collared hyena that just won't let it go. Just waiting for the lions to lose their patience. There's the hyena lurking off to the left. watching, waiting. Oh, and flat, and now invisible. There was a hyena off to the left. It is now sleeping in the grass, and it's basically impossible for us to see. It's a vulture as well, but that's where the hyena was. It's been something that I've never thought of before, being in the Mara, is the battle for the lions and the hyenas in terms of their ability to cope with heat. Now, the lions out here, like all lions, have a slightly lower heat tolerance than the other animals. Their body temperatures can't rise all that much, so they've got very full bellies, which means that they're excessively warm as it is. And they need to go and lie in the shade after a big meal like that. But sometimes, they can't control where they kill the zebra, especially if it's at night. You can't exactly run at the zebra and plan it so that it's next to a nice shade tree. And that lioness had to drag the carcass all the way across into the shade, and what a good job she did, because it must have been so heavy for her. Nobody feels like doing that amount of exercise after a long meal, a very big meal. The cubs have got bellies out here. They're so happy, and they've pulled it right into the shade. There we go. Of course, in this kind of scenario, it's easy to see the hyenas as the villains of this situation, trying to steal a hard-won meal, but go and have a look at some cute cubs to balance that out.
Well, it's quite interesting. They were about to settle down for the morning, and we were just leaving to carry on because we couldn't see them anymore. They went down towards the hole, and as soon as we left, the two little ones came right out, and they're now sniffing around all the places that we were, where we were parked, basically. So they kind of having a look around and just checking what we were, and I think then they're going to go back towards their mound for a spot of a nap, because they were about to nap when we left, and like I said, I think us moving just got them a little bit curious as to what was going on, and they came and then just sniffed around and checked out what's happening. You can see there's a bit of sniffing there, and there comes one charging down towards us. Are you coming to say hello, little one? This is about the most exploratory that I've seen them. In all the times that we've seen them, they generally don't venture very far from the mounds at all. But they're starting to get older now and starting to get a lot more curious. They're a bundle of joy as they kind of jump around and move around and run around all over the place. And I'm sure we're going to see them exploring a lot more over the coming weeks and going a lot further away from the den as they do it. But look at the little noses down to the ground all the time. They're always looking for things to sniff around and to see what's happening. And so it's going to be interesting just to see how far they actually end up going. And they're right where we were sitting with the vehicle, so I think they're very curious as to what this big hunking piece of metal is and what it was doing here. And there we go, a little bit of greeting going on. Aren't they sweet, these two? Little sibling greeting, and then off they go again. And it seems as though the darker one is the one that is a lot more sort of bold than the spotty one. The spotty one seems to be a little bit more reserved. The dark one is the one that kind of comes bounding along towards us and comes to check out what's going on, and seems to be a lot more sort of happy to be on its own and exploring than what the spotty one is. The spotty one seems to be a little bit more on the shy side, although they seem to have found something else now that they're going to chew, maybe another stick or a bone. I'm not quite sure. It was underneath where the car was, so maybe that's why they were waiting for us to move before they came down. No, can't be too Moorish because they've already left it alone. But how cute are they? And it is a big brand new world for them. Lots of little things happening, a bit of rain and insects and all kinds of other things that they can now go and feed off and try and investigate and look at. And so there's a lot of things going on, and as we get more rain, so we're going to see them doing more of it. Now, I think it was Snazzy, you're wondering, do hyena cubs compete fizzy? Is that what I heard right? Sorry, Megan, there's a lot of wind now that's blowing, so it's a bit difficult. Sprizzy. Okay, well, there we go. Now we've got it right, I think. So at the end of the day, the hyenas, they won't kill each other in competition later as siblings and as litter mates. You'll find a situation that once they're at this age and they start growing up, they're not going to worry too much. What have you got there? You've got a vertebra that you're busy carrying away. So there's a bit of bone that one's got that is being taken away back towards the den. This one is still rooting around at another piece of bone and seeing what there is there. But they won't kill one another at this age now. They're both big enough and strong enough. What will happen, though, is you'll get a situation where, depending whether they're males or females, that the females will start to outcompete the males and dominate them in that regard. But they won't kill them. You'll find that they'll still leave the little males to themselves and to survive, but they will dominate them and push them around a little bit. Now, one of them, the darker one, is a male. I was watching it just now. It was rolling around, so it is a male. I think they both are, actually, to be honest. So I think they're both going to be equally pushed around. If there are other little ones in the area and are born to higher ranking females, then they are going to get a little bit of abuse from them. Now we're going to leave them there because they've gone back towards the den, and I'm not going to go back and disturb them once more. We had a really nice view of them kind of coming along towards us and down to the road, so we're going to try and head off and leave them to themselves. Like I say, they were starting to go down into the mound itself when we first started to leave, and that's why we left, is because once they go down in the mound, generally they're going to sleep for the day. So I didn't want to disturb them anymore, and they gave us a really nice show coming out and playing with bones and all kinds of other things, so we're going to leave it there. Now, I believe James the cheetah are up and moving, so let's quickly go across to him.
Sorry about just a quick view. I think it's just the two of them here. They're not moving just yet. We're going to go.
Oh, hello. If you give me 2 seconds, I'll show you something really cool. Sorry about that. James is not having any luck. Oh, what did you stomp, Secretary Bird? Stomp it, stomp it, stomp it, stomp it. It's a secretary bird, and it's using its feet to catch a little grasshoppers, something nice to eat. Here it is. It's actually quite close to us as well, which is really cool. Run, run, chase after. I love watching them. These birds are incredible. They are so athletic, and their vision is absolutely spectacular because that's how it's spotting its prey. Look at it trying to it's trying to catch. I don't think there must be grasshoppers. It could be other flying insects too. I've been seeing a lot of driver ants around at the moment, and they would be a lovely, delicious snack. But this is so cool, especially because it is so close. You are a very relaxed secretary bird, not giving up either. Missed its target, obviously flew into that shrubbery for cover. But I think, oh, you got lucky, very lucky. Whatever insect you may have been, you've escaped the clutches of the secretary bird. How cool is that? Let's see if it catches something else, seeing as though it's so close. And a very sharp beak, though. Can you see that? Look at the tip of the beak. It actually stands out like a sore thumb. And that's, of course, very important because when you catch something like a snake or, you know, it's potentially venomous, you want to kill it as quickly as you can. Now, firstly, they use their feet, they stomp it, but also that sharp hook on the beak that could pierce right at the back of the snake's head and kill it almost instantly. So very important for birds of prey, for raptors, to have a very, very sharp hook on their beak. Lovely, long, strong legs, though. That is so cool. I could honestly sit and watch these birds for hours and hours and hours and hours. Isn't that nice? Nice view, too. Wait, look at that. Straight go, catch it. So you can see them jumping out of the grass. Oh, and they swallowed it whole. So they are. They're little grasshoppers of sorts. Please come and live at our camp, Secretary Bird. You'd absolutely love it there. There are so many insects and things around that you could gobble up. We could have a nice relationship. You could sleep in my tent at night and keep nice and dry, and then you could eat all the insects that try to attack me all the time. How does that sound, Secretary Bird? Shall we do a trade? I think that would be quite nice. But for those of you that don't know, this is my absolute favorite bird in the entire world. And I love the fact that we are able to spend so much time with them, and that they're all, everywhere. It'd be nice if they do return to the Sabi sand as well, because we do see lots and lots of snakes in the Sabi sand. Now, I mean, yeah, because I've only seen 2 snakes since I've been here. But the amount of snakes I've seen in South Africa, absolutely not too many. I don't think you could see too many snakes. I quite like them. But that would really be an amazing thing to show you. And we talk about it all the time, because maybe if you want, what you can do is you can have a little sneak peek. You can go onto YouTube and you can maybe type in the search bar something along the lines of Secretary Bird versus Snake, and actually see what we are talking about, because it's so spectacular. Oh, that is a great shot there, Ferg. Right, I think that means that the Secretary Bird has had enough of us. That's okay. Jamie has got some other animals to keep you entertained.
We've got plenty of animals to keep you entertained, and we don't even need them because the pale cub was being so entertaining right up until this point. She saw the other hyenas moving in, and she decided she was going to try and drag the carcass further into the protection of the shade. It was quite hilarious to watch because she managed to tip the entire thing over. She managed to roll that entire carcass right over and flip it around. One of the older cubs tucking in. She's actually far too full to eat, but she thought she'd give it a go at protecting the kill. Good girl. There we go. All the cubs moving in. I don't even know where they're going to put any more food at this point. Meanwhile, back at the... Cute. Look at your giant paws. You need to grow into those. Yes, you do, little boy. With your fluffy head. That's her brother, I think. Meanwhile, back at the site of the original kill, just to set the scene properly, there's now 2 hyenas gathered around the remains, as well as one relatively disinterested, lappet-faced vulture off to the left of us. It hasn't really bothered to try and tuck in. I don't think that there's much there to attract it. There's a hooded as well. That's the scraps far more suited to that smaller species of vulture. The hooded vulture on the left, not the hooded vulture, I'm talking utter nonsense. The hooded vulture is on the right. What do you call the big vultures? I've just gone blank. Lappets, thank you. My brain froze and all I could think of was bearded, which of course it is most definitely not. Lappet-faced is not really all that interested in the scraps. Yes, absolutely, Roshni. There is a very clear hierarchy amongst vultures when they feed. The lappet-faced are the largest out here. They are the ones that will dominate the kills if the kill has plenty of meat on it. They will be essentially the tin openers. Their powerful beak will open up the carcass if it hasn't been opened by other ground-based predators. And then after that will come the rupels, then the white-backed, although it depends on numbers, and because those two are pretty similar in size. And then after that, the hoodeds move around the edges and pick up the scraps as the sort of toothpicks of the vulture world. So yes, there is quite a strict hierarchy in terms of feeding. Again, it will depend on numbers, and as you've seen, those sort of feeding frenzies, it's a little bit of a free-for-all. Okay, well, the action's died down this way. I think let's finish off by looking at the sausage tree pride, content with massive white bellies held up to the sky. They could not be happier if they tried. I'm happy to see them well fed. First the buffalo, and now a zebra. Great news for growing cubs. And they are certainly growing. It's hard to believe that they're the same cubs that we got to know. The little ones, I mean, they were basically just little fluff balls when I first met them in June. Tiny, tiny little creatures. nervous and running away. Right, on that note, it's time for us to do our farewells and our thank you. So a big thank you to Craig, and well done for his silent safari. And a round of applause to Faith, who is up in final control next to Angama, the lodge, who has done a marvelous job for her first day of directing. Most importantly, of course, is the big thank you that goes to our Djuma crew, and then to you, our viewers. Thank you for joining us. We will see you for the Sunset Safari.